Welcome to the I-80 Club. Josh Peterson and Matt McMaster starting on time. Are you serious? Matt, hello. How are you?
I limited the amount of libations I had last night at Mary Jo McGuire's bar in downtown Chicago in order to make sure that we secured my appearance on time today. And shocking, I did some prep before this.
What? So you got your notebook? Show me your notebook.
No, I don't. I left my notebook back in Omaha, but I have like six tabs open. I know. Everybody loves the notebook. Everybody knows when the notebook comes out, it's a big deal. So I'm here. I'm here and I've risen. This is my childhood bedroom, by the way.
I figured it was. How's being back at home? Matt's, for those who don't know, Matt's from Chicago. He's never mentioned it before.
Yeah, I never talk about
technically, he's from a suburb of Chicago, which is not a sticking point at all. Don't bring up that he's not from Chicago.
I just play the clip sometimes of Nick Grimm on your show going, he really likes Chicago. And you being like, he's from there. He's from there. He enjoyed where he grew up. Yeah, I do. Yeah. You know, right here.
Nick mentions his podunk small town all the time. Why can't you mention that you're from Chicago?
Thank you.
Right.
I'm currently sitting just so people know. Actually, you know what? I can't. I can't.
Okay, don't unplug anything. Let's be safe here.
But
let's be safe.
Out that window, I could literally throw a stone out that window, and it would land in Chicago.
Wow.
Okay,
that's incredible.
Okay, so I'm in Skokie, but like across that street is Chicago. So not from Chicago, but from Chicago.
When we hang up later, I'm going to send you the address of where I stay when I do Northwestern games because it is in Skokie. So I wonder how far it is from where you're.
What is it called?
All right, you know what? I'll just find it. It's somewhere in my. Okay, let's see.
If it's a Holiday Inn, you might as well just stay at Casa Lynn McMaster.
It might be.
Is it on Toohey? Is it a Holiday Inn on Toohey? It's probably
okay. Here we go. All right, Miami of Ohio at Northwestern. This was last year.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find my hotel information.
It
might have been honestly.
You might have been right next to Sanders.
Double Tree by Hilton.
Yeah, so you were over on Old Orchard Road. You were by the Westwood Mall over there.
Yes, I ran by that. There's a solid trail not too far away from that hotel.
There is. So that's Forest Preserve over there. That's really good stuff. We used to run over there for cross country. So you were right by. Did you go to that Portillo's?
No.
There's a beautiful orchestra hall where you stayed. And a little bit to the right of it, we used to have our dance recitals over there. Not my dance recital, my sister's dance recital.
Yeah, don't put it on the internet that Matt has a dance recital. There was a grocery store by there that has some of my favorite potato chips that my wife and I recently discovered. They sell them at Costco, but they don't always have the salt and vinegar variety. The Great Lakes, I believe, is the brand. And so on my birthday, I got drunk and I bought a bag of potato chips. And I had a great time, and I watched highlights of the Chargers beating the Chiefs.
I think, wow, that's always a great way to celebrate a birthday. I was going to say there's a Nordstrom rack over there where, like, our back to school, shopping was just ransacking that Nordstrom rack.
Oh, wow, interesting.
We just came, we saw, we conquered. Even through college, too. Like, before, I'd be like, are we going to the rack? Because, Nordstrom rack, one of the greatest just places ever. I love it.
Most boys probably like saying rack. There's like a fun little double.
They got a big rack over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I picked up what you were dropping there.
I got two big reasons why I like to go to Nordstrom's, man. Let me
go immediately into John Gruden, which I think also fits. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Saturday Morning Coffee Show. Jack Mitchell is out this week. He is off gallivanting around Iowa for his in-laws' Christmas this weekend. So we appreciate Matt joining from Chicago. I was not planning on doing this, and then Matt hit me up the other day. I was like, hey, do you want to do coffee show? And I was like, yeah, all right. You know what? That sounds fun.
That's not true.
Well, I mean, originally I had asked you, and you were like, maybe. And so when you said maybe, or when you said the internet could be shitty, I was immediately like, sweet. Up here, I'm already gone. And so I was not planning on doing this until then you followed up. And so that is why we are here. We appreciate you joining us. A couple things before we get going. We have actual topics to discuss. Matt did some prep for you. I've had something on my prep sheet for like a week that I've not had a chance to get to. And so thus our great I-80 listeners are going to get it on this Saturday. We hope everybody has had an awesome Christmas and holiday season. If you missed it, Mike Schaefer is starting with the I-80 Club in a full-time capacity 1 week from Monday. Unemployed with Mike Schaefer premieres that Monday. We hope that you like and subscribe, of course, to the I-80 Club YouTube channel. Go search Unemployed with Mike Schaefer wherever you get your podcasts. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify. And if it's on those two, it should then be on every other podcast app available. I have like 3 on my phone just to always make sure that everything is copacetic with the I-80 Club. It is available on all of those. So go like and subscribe, please. Subscribe to the podcast feed. That will be a daily show for 45 minutes to an hour, again, starting on Monday, January 5th. That said, Matt, he is going to do, as we are now calling it, the Sunday Skurs summary, recapping the bowl game next week, and I believe that will be on New Day. And so that's how we start this whole shebang. So we are so excited to have Schaefer join us. Obviously, the reason why is pretty shitty, but we are happy to have him join the I-80 Club nonetheless. So he'll be joining us very, very shortly there. And then as we get into the new year, there's stuff that we haven't even announced that we're going to be doing. We've been working behind the scenes with some folks. We're very excited. Jack and I are very excited for 2026. I said recently to someone, Matt, 2025, easily the biggest year for the I-80 Club ever. 1 year from now, I know that I will be saying the same thing. So we're very excited. And we've been happy to have Matt along for the ride for a lot of stuff this year. You've done multiple
I love being the Paul Rudd of Paul Rudd and Friends of the I-80 Club.
Show your work. Paul Rudd, show your work.
He was Phoebe's boyfriend in Friends. And
wow, that's not the Paul Rudd reference I figured you were going to make. I was like, no. Is he talking about I Love You, Man? Is he talking about Brian Fantana? Is he talking about Paul Rudd in Friendship? No, where he's like a normal guy and everybody else is weird.
Paul Rudd and Friends popped up a lot. Like he wasn't like he wasn't one of the friends, but he was around, and people were like, he was there. And like you go back and you watch it and go, whoa, Paul Rudd.
That's Paul Rudd.
Wow. It's Matt McMaster, right?
Hot take. You ready for this? Friends kind of sucks. Not a huge Friends guy.
You know what? There are just, in my old age, I've just learned not to get mad at certain bad takes anymore, where it's just like, that's your opinion, man. If that's
old age.
Yeah, if that floats your boat, if that's how you feel, that's totally fine. I think it's a great show, but there's no point. Look at me maturing. There's no point in getting into a pissing contest.
That's amazing.
I've been hanging out with Connor Happer too much to the point where it's like I don't just want to fight everybody all the time.
That's how Happer operates. Happer is the most chill guy in radio. So, wow. And D'Lo adds Friends is garbage. Does not hold up. Perfect.
I think it actually holds up better than so many shows.
I like how they have like normal jobs in like the nicest apartments in New York City. Like that's very normal.
That's well, okay. What do you want them to be under a pass, like under a bypass or something? Secondly, too, they explain in the show why they have nice apartments. Okay, it's Monica's grandma's apartment that they haven't raised the rent on, that she is just staying at.
That's amazing. Yeah, landlords in New York City famously very nice, not raising the rent over very many years. We appreciate it.
Do you want it? You know what? If everything was realistic, Josh, we would have no movies. All right. What are you the guy that goes to a Marvel superhero movie and you're like, oh my God, Captain America's shield obeys the law of physics? Well, they're in fucking space. Okay, right? We're not obeying anything here.
No, I understand that because it's a superhero movie. Friends, I've expected a little bit more in terms of being realistic, but that's not what today's podcast is about. So we will not debate we will not debate Friends any longer. All right, shall we?
Be too much debate on what we're going to talk about.
So here's what and the graphic today is about this. I wanted to talk about the portal because this is probably our last full show before the portal gets going. Jack and I have not decided exactly what we're doing next week surrounding the new year. At the very least, we'll probably be talking some bull stuff. The game against Utah, and let's mention Whittingham a little bit later too. This is all just very strange. But I mentioned this to you. I've had something written down on my prep sheet I'm going to click into the story from Sam McEwen, and I can tell you exactly. December 15th. So, Matt, this story is almost 2 weeks old now from Sam, and I have not had a chance to get into it. And so I honestly, I feel like you're the perfect guy to do this with. The title of the story is Nebraska Football's Bang for Portal Bucks, What Matt Rule Can Learn from Fred Hoiberg. So I believe this story was coming off of those quotes from Rule when he kind of compared himself to Fred. Maybe it was just because Nebraska basketball has been on a heater. But Sam wrote this. Nebraska did not land the Heisman Trophy winner like Indiana did with Fernando Mendoza. And no team nailed its portal additions quite like Oregon, which added safety Dylan Thieneman from Purdue, 3 offensive line starters, a starting tight end, an elite first hydrant defensive tackle in Bear Alexander, and 2 top-line corners. Nike money helps, right? As Nebraska heads into the portal this offseason, it won't quite have Oregon's money, but it'll have enough to hit on targets like Oregon did in 2025. So here is the question that I wrote down coming off of that story, and I want to ask it to you. How good can Nebraska be in the portal? Because, I mean, that list of Oregon guys is ridiculous. And I remember a year ago, as this all unfolded with the Ducks, it was like, wow, this is a pretty ridiculous haul.
Mm-hmm.
That should be massive for them in 2025. And sure enough, it has been massive for them in 2025. Like, can they expect to compete anywhere near? I mean, can they expect to compete anywhere near that level? Like, what are we expecting for Nebraska as January now just a few days away?
So reading, I mean, and talking to people and reading between the tea leaves, it's kind of the best way to describe it, in my opinion, is this: like, Nebraska's not the Yankees, but Nebraska can be the Atlanta Braves. And what you mean by that is they're not going to Yankees or Dodgers or Mets anybody where they're going to spend, over $250 million on players and be the big, at the table and just be like, give out all this money or anything, right? But they're going to be able to get some good guys. They're going to be able to get some good players. They're going to be able to go ahead and get some good portal additions. And so that's kind of how I think it's been. Honestly, I think it's been communicated like that from Matt Rule and Troy Dannon, just from their mouths being like, look, we ain't Texas Tech. We don't got oil money guy. We're not LSU. We don't have chicken finger money. We're not BYU. We don't have crumble cookie. But what we do have is a very kind of just put together, hey, here's a core of money. Here's what we can spend. Here's what we can go out and get. And so I expect them. I expect them fully to go out and get some names where you're like, whoa, okay, cool. And I fully expect if they go out and do not only what I think they're capable of doing, but kind of what they've done in the past, because in the past they have made some pretty interesting portal additions that have positively affected their team. And I think if we're talking about positive effects to negative effects, I think Nebraska football has been more on the positive side when it comes to going in the portal under Matt Rule. And so with this,
you think their hit rate is better than their miss rate?
Yeah, but like, what is a hit? Right.
I was going to ask you to define that. Yeah, what
would a hit be? Because like Marquise Watson Trent wasn't very good, but like he was.
I would say he was a miss.
He was a miss. Okay, but you also got to realize he started a lot and played a lot, and like that was important. And if he wasn't there, then you're probably worse at that position. I agree. That's probably more of a miss. But I would
McCullough, I'd say he was a hit.
McCullough was a hit. Hunter was a hit. Spindler was a hit. Okay.
Dankey's a miss, right?
So that's an interesting question, right? Like that's where we get into, because I think people would call Jamal Banks a miss, right? Which I'd probably agree with that. But would they call Marcus? Would they say Marcus Washington was a miss? Because I thought Marcus. Now I think Marcus Washington.
No, that's previous staff. That's the Frost era.
So, yeah. But he was pretty good.
Noah says Andrew Marshall hit. Andrew Marshall definitely was a hit. That's a good call.
See, here's the thing with Dane Key being like a miss, right? Like, okay, because if you look at Dane Key's stats, like, first off, he went ahead. He plays Minnesota. If fucking Dylan throws him a couple better balls, Dane Key's stats look way better. Okay, and so 420 yards and 5 touchdowns, like that isn't good. I don't know if I'm like, oh, he's this big bust. Like, it's what I don't know. I feel like this is a whole other conversation of like what do we deem success, right? Because to me, if like I go out in the portal and you're a starter the entire year and you play pretty well, you don't have to be great. I would say, hey, that's pretty good acquisition. I think in general, though, it's more so if you go down the names, like we said, Marshall, Sierra Wright, that was a hit. That was
easily a hit for sure.
So it's like, I think when you just kind of go down the list of all of the guys that they've gotten, they've done better than not most of the time.
Well, let me
So
throw this at you. So John and I used to do this bit on our Sports Iconic called Hits, Misses, and Guys. And so we would look at every recruit that Nebraska signed. I think we started this project in like 2014, 2015, and we went back to 2009. And we that was Bo Pelini's first full recruiting class, right? And so we defined hit as all conference caliber. We decided define miss as like doesn't ever do anything or leaves before their eligibility is up. And then guys was a player like a Watson Trent or a Dane Key, where it's like you're playing, you're given snaps.
Yeah, I agree.
But you're never guys. Now, I think if we were to judge hits today off of all conference caliber, then this is not a fun exercise because then nobody is a hit. Nobody is a hit except for a couple of guys.
I don't want to deviate too far from your original question. I would just say in general, they've been better than they've been worse. Have they been perfect? Absolutely not. Have they gone out and gotten a guy that is like, holy crap, like all America level? Like, no, they haven't done that either. Right. So I think it's kind of hard to judge like how much you trust them in the portal. I'm probably more on I trust them more than most people. But this is really the overarching point, Josh, is this.
Yeah.
LSU last year went out and got this massive portal haul. Like they went out, got dude after dude after dude. I mean, hell, they even got Jamari Butler from Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
And it was like a big deal. And people were like, man, this team, they're going to go out there and they're going to kill it. They're going to dominate. You know, the offense is going to be great. Garrett Nussmeier, you know, they got this running back. They're going to have a run game. They're going to be fine. And they ended up firing their coach. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So we could sit here and we can look at the rankings and we can look at the stars and we can look at where these guys came from and what they did. And we could say, man, they're like Nebraska's going to kill it. But it really isn't going to matter until the guys who are wearing the headsets, you know, go ahead and do an above average job. Because, you know, look at Indiana. Indiana, the last 2 seasons have killed it in the portal. Outside of the quarterbacks, how many people can really name the guys they went out and got in the portal?
Well, right? I was going to say, and outside of, I wouldn't even include Curtis Rourke in that conversation because how many people had heard from, Fernando Mendoza. Hell, I mean, you still got to be kind of a ball knower before this year to know who Fernando Mendoza is, given he played at Cal.
And I only know that because I watched the Miami game, and I was like, "Oh, this quarterback is pretty good." And then and then he was like, "Oh, he's going to Indiana." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, good for him." And then Gary, who's a sicko, watched like 6 Cal games last year for whatever reason, and he was like telling me, he was like, "This guy's going to be legit," and I should have bet on him to win the fucking Heisman.
Yeah,
but
I think we all should.
But like, so here's my point, Josh. Though, like,
yeah.
When they go ahead and they start getting these guys in the portal, I'm less going to be looking at who they got specifically and more so at like how many guys have they gotten in each specific spot, you know, like, and
what do you like? You're talking about like raw numbers, or are you talking about
in a way like where I'm like, okay, if they go out and hey, this guy was a former 4-star from Florida, right? And he's got a ton of talent based on like this team's ability to develop talent, especially within the trenches. I'm not going to be like, whoa, you know, stuff like that. Now they go out and they get a guy like Ahmad Hardy, which I'm not saying they're going to do, but let's say Hardy were.
That'd be a hell of a get.
And I'd be like, holy shit, this team has elevated to another level. But it's just, I think it's just really, really hard to project like, hey, how teams that are built a lot through the portal are going to end up looking. I think we've seen that. And so I'm just kind of like, if they go out and they get a lot of guys and they spend a good amount of money, I'm going to be like, hey, success for portal, right? Good job. Way to go and, you know, fill holes and get pieces and try and address some certain things. But none of this shit really matters if you don't develop the talent, you know.
Which do you trust them to do that? Do you trust them right now to do that? And do you trust them to identify the players? Like D-Dub says, a good and consistent plan plus good coaching staff plus good in the portal plus good development equals success. I think Nebraska is still a work in progress in all 4 categories. Matt writes, I still think development is important at Nebraska. Nebraska will never compete with the big boys in a money spending contest. And I certainly, I'm with both of those people. And so like, you know, like, we haven't even mentioned the quarterback position, right? And I think that that's going to tell quite the story, though. I think that whatever they do with the lines is going to be, you know, more important, in particular the defensive line. But I keep looking at a player that I know has been amongst a lot of chatter in recent days, And for the record, I haven't really heard any intel beyond a couple of weeks ago. Somebody reached out and said, like, let's all keep an eye on Aiden Childs. And then he started showing up on all sorts of lists, right? And so I think him, if he ended up being the guy, that would tell me, I mean, I don't know. I guess it would tell me quite a bit. First of all, I think I'd have a negative view about, I'd have a negative view on 2026 if Aiden Childs is the guy, because that just seems like this kind of classic move for Nebraska in the last few years, where it's like there's this quarterback who has like loads of talent in theory, not a perfect player, turnover prone at times.
Who does that remind you of?
I know, and that's the thing, man, right? And so I can't get that out of my head. And so now I'm going to circle all the way back to like the original question that I had going off of the Sam column. If Aiden Childs is the best that they can do, I almost think that the way in which we've talked about their portal mindset and how different it was going to be this year, it turns into a load of shit where it's like, all right, cool. You can spend all this extra money and you can do all these things. And Aiden Childs is the quarterback. And like, I don't want to just completely crap on a guy before. I mean, he might not even be the Nebraska quarterback in 2026, but I just, and because Adam says, what perfect player is Nebraska going to get? And they're not. That's the thing. Nebraska is not going to get a perfect player. But man, if the best that they can do is Aiden Childs.
Oh, here's the thing, Josh. Here's a little bit of the piece of the pie, though, right? They have a lot they have to get. They have a lot. It is concerning. Like, the grocery list is 2 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, 2 interior offensive linemen, 1 offensive tackle, at least 2 defensive tackles, probably 1 edge, 2 linebackers, 1 safety, 2 corners. Like that's it. And a partridge in a fucking pear tree.
Dude, okay, so let me read this then.
By the way, that is 14 guys. And by the way, you need starting caliber guys at those positions.
Yeah, if you do a hit and miss, like what's the hit ratio need to be on those? And Sam writes, regardless of who we get, it'll be a negative view. We are talking about trying to elevate to build optimism to get to 6 wins. I mean, Matt, when you just said all of what you said, why should we believe that anything is going to be better in 2026?
Well,
when you say all of those things, they got to hit on all those spots, including like the most important position in sports at quarterback, and then the lines, and then all the other stuff. And by the way, a new defensive coordinator, a new offensive line coach. Yeah. You know, who knows?
But it's got a reset. Right? It's got a reset. Don't you?
Dana Holgerson interviewed with TCU as their OC. Like, is there a world where he is not on the staff? Like, what are we talking about? How is it going to be any better?
But don't say they're resetting, Josh. Don't you dare utter it. Don't you dare. Don't you talk about it. Don't you speak of it. Which, by the way, it is a reset. I'm sorry. It is. It is. You're bringing in basically, I don't want to say you're bringing in a brand new team, but it's going to be a very different looking team from now. Well, we have to mention this too. They do have a younger team. They do have a lot of guys on the roster that they're going to play next season that you probably haven't heard of unless you're like a really big fan and you've been following their recruiting classes. And I will say, and I'm going to get killed for saying this in this Discord group chat, but it's true. It's probably more akin to like what they were doing at Temple and Baylor, heading into next season, where you have a lot of really, really young guys who, a lot of whom have played, who have been on the field in some sort of way, right? And so there definitely is the possibility that there are a couple of guys next season that we aren't counting on that take these big jumps and end up being impact players. And, that happened. And that happened at Temple and Baylor, and it's the reason why he got hired at Nebraska. That is the reason, because he was really, really good at developing talent there. And I don't think he's been nearly that. And someone writes here, wait. Someone wrote in the Discord chat a really good message about development. And it's just like one of those things where, all right, here it is. Joel goes, I will not buy into the portal acquisitions until I see them on the field. And it's like one of those things where it's like,
yes,
like I'm kind of the same way too. Like, I think that's the point I'm trying to convey here. You can throw in my face fancy ratings and stars and numbers, and you could say, hey, Nebraska ranked 4th in the country in their transfer portal class. Great. Great, cool.
What is it actually going to mean? Yeah, you need to see.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything if there's actual development, if there's actual coaching, if there's actual continuity, if there's actual okay, hey, we're all on the same page here. And they clearly and admittingly so weren't on the same page last season. And so, yeah, and you have a good point too. You asked the question, hey, what makes you think they're going to do it this time? I mean, I think Jeep Wade has a pretty impressive resume. I mean, Georgia Tech was on the Joe Moore Award list. So I'm probably more, hey, I'm more optimistic that maybe the O-line can develop. They still haven't hired a D-line coach. So it's not as if I'm be like, oh,
and it's not going to be Elijah Robinson.
And Rob Orch, I'm a fan of this.
I know, man. Like all the numbers, right, say this is fun. This is interesting. This is different. Up and comer.
But here we go again, hiring another defensive coordinator who doesn't have any sort of Big Ten experience. And if we've learned anything in this day and age and not just this day and age, over the last 20 years, 15 years of Nebraska football, right? You got to adjust to the Big Ten. Like the Big Ten.
I don't know. I think Tony White kicked ass, and he didn't have any Big Ten experience, right?
Well,
and he kicked ass with a bunch of dudes that kind of stunk in 2022.
But even like Carl and them had a tough time getting used to the Big Ten when they first got into the conference. Like they had to clean some stuff up. And John Butler didn't.
Well, I would say they never really adjusted to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say the Bo Pelini era. Yeah, they certainly didn't.
So
their defense was objectively worse.
And honestly, too, if you want to look at a common denominator of Nebraska football, I guess this conversation has kind of gone off the tracks a little bit. But if you want to look at the common denominator of Nebraska football over the last 15 years, and its failures, I think one of the common denominators you could point at is they've had a lot of coaches and a lot of staff that haven't really coached in the Big Ten before, that haven't been in that conference. Scott Frost wasn't a head coach in the Big Ten before he took the job. Mike Riley came from Oregon State. Matt Rule came from Carolina, right? Yeah. I mean, almost nobody from Matt Rule's staff, from his assistant coaching staff, had coached in the Big Ten before.
I think sometimes with this discussion, I feel like it's like you're twisting my arm, and I'm just going to be I'm going to say uncle at some point in time, because it's yeah, you're right. You can name all those things. On the other hand, as Sam points out, Indiana's DC's Big Ten experience is 2 years as a GA.
Sure.
It just, I get so annoyed at it because there must be something there. There has to be, or does Nebraska just have this horrible hit rate in hiring guys? Okay. Like Jeff Brom, right? What Big Ten experience did he have? And he won at Purdue. He took Purdue to a Big Ten championship game.
Totally right. And I think you could easily say, hey, Matt, the main reason as to why Nebraska isn't winning isn't because they're not hiring guys with Big Ten experience.
Correct.
To which I would say, yeah, correct. Totally.
Yeah.
Same time, we've seen, this isn't just a pattern over 2 years. This is a pattern over the last decade.
But look at right now. Look at so the 3 playoff teams. Put Ohio State out of the conversation because it's Ohio State. They're always good. Dan Lanning was coaching in the soft Pac-12, and Oregon has lost one conference game over the last 2 years, not counting the Rose Bowl last year. And then we all know the Cignetti story. So that's where I get so tired of this. It's is Nebraska failing because they're not hiring Big Ten coaches, or is there a failing because they just keep missing on all of the stuff that they're doing?
So I think the latter is way more correct, but I think both can be true. I think both can definitely be true. And I don't think you're not acknowledging that the former is true.
I just think that it's a little on one hand, we all watch the Big Ten and people are like, man, this conference is kind of slow and it kind of sucks and it's overrated. And then on the other hand, it's oh my gosh, it's just so hard to go through this league week after week, year after year. And it's is it really, or is it hard to go through because the team isn't good?
Yeah.
You think Ohio State looks at the Big Ten's what a grind. The Big Ten, what a grind. You think Indiana? Does Indiana look at this? What a grind. What a tough league. No, they don't. Right. They Oregon, oh, what a grind. You got to go to Iowa sometimes, and it's a pain in the ass. But week after week.
You're right. And I'm not wrong, but you're not wrong either. But it's one of those. I'm not wrong. I mean,
handshake meme. We're both correct.
We're both correct.
We're nailing it, folks.
But I think Indiana throws the big wrench into everything there.
Sure,
because it's just That has become the trump card for everybody pissed off.
It really is, right? But what
about
Indiana?
What about Indiana? Why can't you do that, asshole? Look at what they did. Because all they did was just hire a coach that won a lot, said, hey, isn't it fun to win? And then all of their rich donors came in and gave them a ton of money, and now they're going to be a power.
And by the way,
they're going
how about Jack and I have not talked about this yet because Rule he did his last press conference before we or after we did our most recent pod. When he goes on that rant from the Sipple question about the reset stuff, have you noticed? Because I told John to pause the clip on Tuesday. He says something and he says Nebraskans. Like that dude so much wants to say, all these Nebraskans won't stop asking me about Cignetti. Like it has gotten so far now.
Nebraskans.
Like, he says Nebraskans and then he stops because he's about to start complaining like big time about Nebraska.
He does that. He does that a lot.
Oh, he does it all the time.
And let me say this too. A lot of people say everything Matt Rule says is intentional. Everything he says is intentional. Got to be careful here, guys. I've been in those press conferences. I've been to. I mean, and I've watched basically all of them.
We call you Mr. Press Conference.
He slips.
All the time, especially the last couple of months.
There are times where he starts going down a road and he pulls that parking brake. He just
nice
and just
turn into the skid, Matt. Turn into the skid.
It's one of those things where it's like I know what you're saying. There are some moments where it's just like he definitely goes in the press conference and he's got some lines in his head that he wants to hit. But there are other times where he just the fucking snowball starts rolling down the hill, and he just all of a sudden has to snap out of it and be like, all right, wait, back to being pro head coach here. Like there are moments. It doesn't happen a ton. It doesn't happen a ton, but it happens. So
I'd say it's happened a lot more since Penn State fired their coach in October.
So I had a couple of thoughts here in the transfer portal.
Yeah, you did all that prep, and I feel like we haven't gotten into it. We're 30 minutes in.
Well, because I mean, you and I, we just talk.
We just riffing.
We just riffing. We just talk about the program, and I don't think anything we've really said is incorrect about the program. And like also too, it's one of those things where when it comes to the portal, I think the straightest line through how I feel is I'm going to read the names, and people are going to tell me to get excited, and I'm going to say, okay, let's see how they look in week 4. Let's get there. Like now, granted, my level of excitement can definitely vary, right?
Sure.
Like I can be a little bit, but I'm not going to really make any bold claims on this team with like the hope that people are going to get exponentially better out of nowhere. Because outside of one guy, that hasn't happened in the 3 years of this program, by the way. It really hasn't occurred. So that's how I feel. Now, there's this like all this talk about why would you spend a lot of money on a running back, on Twitter. Am I crazy to be like, I do want to spend a lot of money on a running back? Like I want Nebraska to get the
You want them to get Ahmad Hardy?
Yeah, I do. I want them to get the top guy. I want them to get the stud. I don't care that you're like, well, if you're looking at the market, technically that running backs are like the most replaceable, and so you really should be spending about like $300,000 to $400,000 on a running back, except for $1 million.
Thucker and Thuckatash.
You lost an All-American at the running back position, okay?
Sure.
An All-American that you had, that frankly, if you did not have him, this would be a nightmare of a season, and we would be having
without their 1,800 yards.
Dude, it would be so bad. And so essentially, like your plan is to go from All-American running back and quarterback who's very talented to an exponentially worse running back and a less talented quarterback with an offensive line that you're going to have to put together with duct tape probably through the transfer portal.
Or couldn't you take that money and spend it on the line? Like, isn't the argument? So, like, here's the argument I will use against you.
But that's the argument for the quarterback position, not for the running back position.
But so here's the argument I would use against you. Matt, they just had an 1,800-yard back and they won 7 games against a god-awful schedule. What happens if they don't have a good offensive and defensive line against a schedule that features all 3 of the Big Ten playoff teams in 2026?
Okay.
among other schools.
Great question, Josh.
Yeah. So I would rather spend it. I would rather take that money that you want to spend on an Ahmad Hardy like back and disperse it on the offensive and the defensive.
Okay. So here's the thing. Your argument works. If I was sitting up here and saying, I want a top quarterback. I want the guy. I want Sorsby. I want Levin. I want the dude. I want Lagway. That's where your argument works, because the money you are talking about is millions of dollars. Millions, right?
Yeah,
that you can easily spread. If you go ahead and you read Pete Nakos's article on 3, running backs are going from 400,000 to $1 million. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're already are like, hey, we're going to spend $600,000 on a running back, and there's a guy sitting there, and I don't have a name, but there's a guy sitting there, and he's a stud, and he was like, almost on the SEC, all conference team, just a great running back. Mm-hmm. And you're telling me you're $200,000 away from getting that guy? Just get there. Just do it. Just spend the money. It's like buying a bottle of wine. Don't buy an $11 bottle of wine. Buy a $13 bottle of wine. The difference is it's serious. It's a big difference.
It's like the Richter scale. Is that what you're saying?
Just get a little bit more and get the high quality product. That's how I view the running back room. So like that $200,000, I don't know how much more dispersed you would get over the offensive line. Right now, if we were talking about quarterbacks, you're totally right, because we're talking millions of dollars. We're talking like, hey, you're getting top tackles. But like with an RB, the margin is so small from these projections of how much they're going to cost, where I think it would be a more bang for your buck to spend more money on that position, because they don't have any. They don't have any running. Like, they don't. I'm sorry. Isaiah Mosey, through 12 games, never really showed that he got better. But, it's hard for me to look at him and be like, hey, that's going to be a bell cow Big Ten running back. Mekhi Nelson, same thing. So it's like, you need to get your starting running back. And if it's going to cost you just a little bit more, and maybe you're going to be higher up on the market, so be it, because you need to run the ball. You need to, and the reason why they like Latif and they like Aiden Childs is because they want to run the ball and they want to have the threat of running the ball. And so to do that, you have to have a really good running back as well. And so I don't want them to go ahead and be like, oh, we got this guy. He runs fast. He ran for 700 yards in the match.
Well, they obviously. Oh, see, okay. I was going to say they obviously can't operate with their current crop, but you don't want them to even operate with a lower level guy coming in where you're like, ooh, hey, we identified a player from the G5 or even FCS, I guess, like a Charmar Brown situation. You wouldn't be interested in that this year
if it was paired with another running back. Yeah. I mean, I would take 2 of those guys, but I just think that they don't have a dynamic offensive difference maker on this team right now. They don't.
For sure. They don't. Yeah.
They don't have a top dude where you're
What's
like,
the closest
hey,
to it? Is that an Isaiah Hunter? Is it the corpse of Ja'Cory Barney? On the football field, getting tripped up. Yeah, will he be on the team in 2026?
Well, not even that. It's just dude gets knocked over by a feather, and
he does. It's a little windy in Omaha right now. I'm worried he's gonna fall over.
Well, it's one of those things as well where it's like when you first saw him play, you're like, whoa, fast, burst, speed, and then at the end of the year this season, you're like, got a clipped wing probably.
I still think if they he got banged up in the first game against Cincinnati all the way back in Kansas City.
Because when you're 110 pounds soaking wet and you get hit by these mammoths of human beings, you're gonna get banged up a little bit.
Hey, here's something that we haven't hit on. D'Lo says, the big elephant in the room is who is leaving. A great question. Ja'Cory Barney's name has certainly popped up. I almost made the graphic today, Matt, with Ja'Cory Barney, and it was just going to say portal, but I didn't want, to get any phone calls asking me what I was trying to do here. But certainly he's a name that has been popping up for weeks. Ja'Cory Barney's name has been popping up for weeks. Here's, I guess, I will ask another question on top of my question. How many other players are even on the roster that you're like, they can't lose that guy?
Great question. It's not that many. It's not that many. It's a concerning list. Josh, doing this exercise with you about talking about the portal, I became a lot more worried about Nebraska football.
Yeah.
Than I was going through, because I went through the roster. I went through the whole roster.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm afraid things are far worse than I thought they'd be. Like, because
it took until after Christmas.
Well, because I went down and I, if I was back in Omaha, I would have written it down on my notepad of the laundry list that I talked about: the 2 quarterbacks, the 2 running backs, the 2 interior offensive linemen, the 1 tackle, the 3 DTs, the 1 edge, the 2 linebackers, the 2 corners, the 1 safety. All right, that like that's a lot. And then you go through and you're like, okay, so Shavers, Marshall.
Yep.
Pritchett.
Yeah, D'Lo mentions Merritt, Davis,
Hunter,
Davis, Williams,
Merritt,
Nwaneri.
Davis, Nwaneri.
Yep. It's a short list.
Dylan Rogers. I'd be a little.
Did you mention Justin Evans?
Oh God, if he left, fuck.
Yeah. Justin Evans.
But there would be like I only.
So what's that? 7 players.
But I think there is only like 4 or 5 backbreakers. Wow. Marshall would be a backbreaker. Evans would be a backbreaker.
That would suck.
Shavers would be a backbreaker. Pritchett would be a backbreaker.
That would be a bummer for sure.
And Hunter. Those 5, I'd be like, fuck. But it's only 5.
Yeah, that's a
it's
bummer.
Only 5.
Yeah, well, you want that number to be a lot higher.
I want that number to be like 14.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like,
for sure.
Okay. And then you're able to survive 2 of them. And you're like, all right, damn, that sucks. that.
Yeah.
Okay,
but at least we got the other 12.
But we're fine. We got a core. We're good. We knew what was going to happen. We couldn't pay all of it. That's the problem too. In theory, you kind of want guys going into the portal in a way because you're like, hey,
money off the books.
We can't pay all these guys because we had a good year and we have a good roster. And so that's like, I think it's honestly like you kind of want like we are full to the point where it's just like how teams manage the rosters is exactly how pro teams manage their rosters. I don't know though if it's exactly like the NFL though. Like everybody calls it NFL light. I just kind of call it pro sports light because there's really not a 1-to-1 in terms of how we handle these situations.
Well, no, it's obviously the lack of free agency, true free, in that regard is obviously a huge deal.
So back to your point though, it's just like, dude, I'm really not. I'm kind of upset going through the roster, being like, I wouldn't mind if a lot of these guys went in.
Yep, I think that's it. You want to talk about indictments? Like there was a question a few minutes ago. And by the way, we've been reading comments all throughout the day from our subscribers inside of the I-80 Club Discord server. You can hit us up with a super chat or better bang for your buck. Patreon.com/I80 Club. $8 a month gets you access to the Discord server. DW says, serious question. What percentage chance do you all give the rule era working at this point? I define working out as continued progress, 8 wins or so in at least 1 year in the next 3, which Nebraska seriously contends for the playoff. And man, Matt, when you start going through the number of players that they have on the roster that like would be a heartbreaker if they left, like, that's a huge problem. Matt, you named 5 guys and it's going into year 4. You don't want more. You don't want that number. You want it to be a much bigger number going into year 4 than just 5. You almost have more seasons than good players.
It's just crazy to me where it's like, okay, I understand there might have been some things you had to clean up. Like when Rule was like, you don't understand what we walked into. And I don't think he's wrong. At the same time, that doesn't take away the fact that you have not been able to develop the offensive defensive line. Like that's not an excuse. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the operations compartment was not running as efficiently as top programs do does not give you the excuse as to why you haven't. Like, dude, I go through these offensive linemen on the roster, and there's a lot of these guys who haven't played, but they've been in the program for 2 to 3 years. And you're like, this is why Donovan Raiola got fired.
Yeah, because for sure. The lack of development with those young, highly thought of offensive linemen too. Nebraska beat actual schools for the services of some of these guys.
And you're just like, where the fuck is Grant Bricks?
I was just going to say Grant Bricks is probably the poster child for this entire conversation, right?
And I feel like we've been talking about Jason Machacek for like another 3 years at this point too, and how strong he is, and Sam Sledge, right? I've been waiting for somebody to be like, hey, he's ready. He's ready to go. And crickets. It's just been nothing. And so that's the whole fucking frustrating part of this, Josh, is like the problem was supposed to be the solution. The problem has been overall player development, and that's the reason why he got hired. And you can tell me Emmett Johnson, and I can name you 25 other fucking players who we all thought, hey, had a shot. And they didn't do anything. Jalen Lloyd, Jaden Doss, Malachi Coleman. Like, where do they all go? Not here.
Yeah, for sure.
They're gone. Right. Bryce Turner, Jeremiah Charles, Ishmael Smith Flores. Where are they at? Where's Carter Nelson at? Where's Carter?
Where's Carter Nelson? Yeah, for sure.
Like what occurred there? Like Grant Bricks, Machachek, Sledge. Where's Sua left to? Where's Preston Talmoa? Right? Where are those guys? Like, come on.
What did you just name? Like 15, 20 dudes?
I mean, like it's getting a little ridiculous. Dude, the linebacker room is atrocious. The linebacker room. I mean, it's Dawson Merritt, Vincent J.
Think of what they had to do. They had to bring in Watson Trent.
It's like nothing. Okay.
Watson Trent can't see over anybody, and he was like the plan, you know?
And it's just like, I've been waiting on Riley Van Poppel. I've been waiting on Cam Lenhart to pop. Cam
Lenhart is always a player that I love bringing up because I remember him getting those sacks early on in 2023. In particular, he had, I think, 1.5 or 2 at Colorado, and I was like, whoa, this guy's going to be good. And you know, how depressing was it, Matt, watching the Ole Miss Tulane game last week, and you see Prince Will making plays, getting a sack and a half over the course of that game. And so I was trying to remember, I was like, was Prince Will just on the 2023 team? And then I was like, no, he was also on the 2024 team. And it was like, wow, that is incredibly disappointing because he's had a solid year for them. And I was imagining, what could he have meant for Nebraska's defense if they had an edge rusher like a Prince Will on the 2025 team? What could that have meant for John Butler's defense this year?
It would have been big. It would have been big. But, like, you know.
So she said.
Well, like, you know, we've had this David Hofkin guy who's 6'7", 285 pounds, and he's figuring it out. And I'll give him that. Maybe they are developing him. But, like, Dylan Parrott has been on the roster for 3 years. He hasn't really popped. Like, that's like, I'm trying to go through here because I can't, they're not all coming off the top of my head. Well, Jalen George, what a fucking bust. That was so tough. That was rough. Like, so there's just been a lot of these guys, especially at the wide receiver position, that have just kind of come. I mean, Jamarian Parker didn't do anything, did not pop. That sucked. He's gone. You know, you can go ahead. Linebackers, honestly, they haven't really done a ton there. Now, they've done a pretty good job at corner. Like, the secondary has been like the saving grace of this all. But
it really has.
But even at the
O-line, stumbled into Sierra Wright in like August last year.
I know. Crazy.
Think about that.
Crazy. And they still have got, like, dude, I think Donovan Jones is going to be a dude. I think he's going to be a stud. I don't think they need to play. I don't want him at a corner. I think he'd probably be pretty good at nickel. And then, but I honestly think, dude, Donovan Jones, number 37, he's like your most physical, purest tackling player. They love switching positions. If you felt good at the corner spot, I wouldn't mind if they were like, hey, we're going to try and make him a linebacker because they need one. They need a linebacker, and he's got it. He's a really good football player. But it's just one of those things. After they came in and they were like, player development. We're going to develop players. We're going to do this. Look at our history. Look at all these guys. Look at Jalen Petrie. Look at Terrence Knighton. Look at Hassan Reddick. Look at these dudes. Tyquan Thornton. Like, look at these guys that we brought in. They didn't think a whole lot of them. We were able to make them great players. That has not happened nearly at the rate that it needed to at this program. And it's just like, it's one of those things where it always comes back to this. You can fucking tell me how great and how talented this transfer portal class is going to be. If they don't develop, who gives a damn? Who gives a damn? And do you trust them to develop?
No. And, you know, I want to read a couple comments as we get near the end of today's pod. Jim and O'Neill writes, I want to see this whole thing without the Dylan sphere. Work on the team. And then he adds, I should say this isn't Dylan's fault either. Chuck writes, I think Rule was excited at the idea of a Raiola-free team where he wasn't so beholden to a family. So I agree with both of those comments. I would say this, though, Matt. Like, there's a part of me, I've been ruminating on a take for the last week and a half or so since Dylan, almost 2 weeks now, since the Dylan news came out on that Monday. Mm-hmm. And that is like, the obvious question is, did they make a mistake taking him over McCord, right? But mine is more like, did that set back the program, or will we look back at that as setting back the program to a way in which they are unable to come out of it? Like there is a meme, of course, now about the schedule in 2026. Have you seen the schedule in 2026? The schedule in 2026 is hard. But of course, there's truth in that there are 3 Big Ten playoff teams. All 3 of those Big Ten playoff teams are on Nebraska's schedule. We have not seen the schedule yet, but there's a world where the Big Ten schedules it and Nebraska opens with Oregon or opens with Ohio State or opens with Indiana. And it's like, wow, they have no ability to kind of get out of the tailspin. And I do wonder, kind of big picture, if we could look back at the decision to go with Dylan in year 2 and kind of become this, I don't know, man, this weird program. Yeah, it's just been a weird, we've all talked about how, wow, the way he discusses Dylan Raiola is so much different than the way he discusses everybody else, right? Like there's this almost like a chase of fame.
There was kind of had, right? Were a 5 dating the 10. Okay?
Yeah, they were like, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that this. Yeah, yep.
We're going to buy her the shoes. We're going to get her the nails. We're going to get her the Gucci purse. We're going to get her the dress. We're going to do all of it. We're going to tell her how beautiful she is, how great she is. It doesn't matter that she rolled her eyes at your mother at Thanksgiving dinner, okay? It doesn't matter that she was rude to your sister at, Christmas. I'm not saying, by the way, Dylan Raiola did any of this stuff. This is just the analogy. But we don't care. We love you. We love you. We don't care you can't escape out of the pocket. We don't care that you can't throw the ball 20-plus yards down the field. We don't. We love you. We're so happy to have you. And then the chick started flirting with other guys, and you're like, "Fuck this, we're out of here." And
now is it too far? I'm trying to figure out how this analogy would continue, but now it's, oh my gosh, it's too far gone, and it's really difficult.
But here's where I disagree. Here's why I'm going to push back. I just think there are problems on this team that don't really have to do with Dylan Raiola. Dylan Raiola has nothing to do with just a terrible hire at the defensive line coach and not being able to develop those guys throughout the entirety of the season. Dylan Raiola actually might have something to do with the offensive line. So there you go. So you can
literally, in a variety of ways.
You can throw so you can throw that in there. But like the D line being not great, is not his fault. And on top of that too, okay, he's gone. You can go out, like in this era of college football, you could go out and get a better quarterback. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. Everybody does it every year. They go and get guys that are better than Dylan Raiola. Indiana did it last year, right? Where they got a guy that was way better than Dylan Raiola. Ohio State did it with Julian Sayin. Oregon has done it with Dante Moore. Like you don't go down the line where there's so many guys, so many quarterbacks out there, whether they're in the portal right now or not in the portal, that are better than Dylan Raiola. So now, Josh,
Matt,
you're right. Dylan has had a greater impact on the program and the negativity, probably more than one individual person, right? But I don't think we'll look back and be like that was the root of the problem, because it's
more like a representation for the root of the problem.
But Josh, this is their opportunity to move past it. They have so many resources and basically an open canvas to create this team the way that they want to create it. That's the spin zone. If you want to be positive and you want to be optimistic, you can say this. Well, Nebraska's got a lot of money now, and they got a lot of different interesting things that they can do, and they can pick different players and, force certain schemes, and they're an attractive place because players know that they can be starters right away at Nebraska and they can give out a lot of money. Like, that's your spin zone. Your spin zone is, wow, look at all this money and opportunity and great players in the portal that Nebraska can go ahead and have a great 2026. Here's the reality. They're trying to do something that they haven't been able to do in 3 years, and that is acquire great players at an incredibly high clip and then develop those players at an incredibly high clip. They haven't been able to do that. I don't blame anybody who goes, I'm not going to believe it till I see it.
Yeah, for sure. One thing on this before I had another question that is not related to Nebraska football before we say goodbye. Stuart Mandel wrote a column today titled "The College Football Spending Cap is Brand New, and Here's How Schools are ignoring it." I'll read this paragraph to you because Dylan Raio's name shows up. Last year, the highest paid quarterbacks in the market, Georgia's Carson Beck, Miami, and Tulane's Darian Mensah, Duke, earned deals of more than $3 million, not including incentives. This year, the price for a proven player like Arizona State's Sam Leavitt, Cincinnati's Brendan Sorsby, or Nebraska's Dylan Raiola is expected to start at $4 million and could reach $5 to $6 million, according to an agent who's shopping a quarterback, a GM trying to retain one, and a collective head who's losing one. So I'm guessing, given the three quarterbacks mentioned, Nebraska is either the agent who's shopping Dylan, the GM who's trying to retain Dylan, which I don't think that's who they are, or a collective head who's losing one. So again, as always, this stuff is happened kind of behind the scenes, but quite interesting. The number there, quite interesting. Matt, before you go, sorry, what were you gonna say?
It's funny. How would you feel if Dylan came back?
That's not going to happen. But wow. And here's why it's not going to happen, because I've seen this chatter online a little the last couple of days. It's not going to happen because Matt Rule has already talked about it. Like if there would have been a possibility, Rule and Holgerson in their press conferences in the days after would have said, we're not answering questions about this right now.
Yeah, you're right.
It would be weird and awkward, given that they've already talked about it.
But I didn't ask the question with the possibility of Dylan coming back. I asked the question because I asked the question because I want Josh Peterson just to say, no, I don't want to. Yeah,
that sounds terrible.
That's what I was.
That sounds awful. Hey, before we go, we're not doing it before the witching hour tomorrow. Bears, 49ers. There is a world, right, where the Bears are the 1 seed. They need some help. They need Carolina to do what Carolina has done a lot this year, and that's win these 1:00 Eastern games at home against good teams. Yeah. They did it against the Rams. Couldn't they do it tomorrow against the Seahawks? Knock off another one of these. Your Bears playing the 49ers tomorrow night. How we feeling right now? How's Chicago feeling about the Chicago Bears and this huge one in Santa Clara?
I had a great convo with somebody yesterday, and I was like, it's funny. Like we're having a great time over here. Having a great time.
Oh yeah.
But if they win on Sunday,
yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
Like it's real. Like it's real. Like it's real. Like it's really real. Yeah. This isn't a fun little story anymore. This is like oh wow, they could do it. They could do it. If they go on the road and beat San Francisco, who's playing,
there's no reason they can't do it.
You're like, oh, this is something. This is a possibility. This is crazy. So I think there's a part of Chicago fans who, like, if they lost on Sunday, obviously
it's almost easier to handle, right? Like, it's okay, well, they're not that good, so at least I don't have to get my hopes up.
Exactly. That's exactly.
I know the exact feeling you're talking about. Because the team that I consider like this is the 2016 Cowboys, where at a certain point that was like, wow, this is really fun. A rookie quarterback and a rookie running back are leading this team to a lot of wins. And at a certain point, it goes from fun to, oh no, my heart is going to get destroyed. And guess what? It did. It did get destroyed in January. Terrible.
Because here's the thing. If they go ahead and they lose to San Francisco on Sunday, you're kind of like, all right, they are what we thought they were. Like, they're the 8th best team in the NFL. They're fun. They're very
We needed
flawed.
Magic to beat Malik Willis.
Exactly. Like, they're super turnover dependent. Like, they're just not consistent enough in playing football to, like, go ahead and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They win, though.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more.
Why not us? Like, why not? Like, explain to me. Explain, because your argument, your smart football people argument, because you're a smart football person, would say they can't keep up the turnovers. They can't keep it up. And to which I would respond, well, they have.
They have so far. Can they keep it up in January?
Like they have, but they have. They've continued to do, and it hasn't just been bad passes either. They are stripping the football, which is like a big Dennis Allen thing. And so they are hunting. Like, they are hunting turnovers more than I think most teams are, because they also are just really good in their structure when they're healthy to play just solid defense, especially in the red zone. So, like, I think they're going to lose. And honestly, I think they're going to lose by 2 scores. And I think we will.
Yeah, I put the 49ers in my pick 'em.
And we will go ahead and we'll kind of push the Bears to the side. We'll say, okay, not a Super Bowl contender, but hey, good team. They might be able to get you. They could catch somebody. They might fuck around and stumble into the NFC Championship, but not win it. They beat San Francisco. I fail to find an argument as to why you can't tell me they can't get to the Super Bowl.
Well, so tomorrow night basically decides how heartbroken you will be at the end of this season. Will you be like, oh man, that was a really fun ride and the season came to an end. That's a bummer. I'm going to miss watching this team. Or will you be catatonic? Those are the questions that we are asking.
I think I'm going to be catatonic either way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just whether or not me being catatonic is just like, all right, they're my team, or it's me being like, this was it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't think here's what, and look, the window is always smaller than you think it is. I remember going back to the 2016 team. They lost to the Packers, and everybody the next day, oh, man, don't worry. This team is so young. They'll be back. They were literally never back. So like, people are going to try to tell you that. Now, here's what I would say. Ben Johnson is awesome. Like, he is that dude. It's like, I think you got the coach. You got the coach. Really, and I think you have the quarterback. I know some people, a lot of people don't want you to have the quarterback. I think you do, though. I think you do.
Yeah, I do too.
I think he can be.
I believe in Caleb. I think Caleb is the guy. I think Caleb has things he needs to fix, but I think Caleb is the guy.
Yeah.
I also do firmly believe that this is Caleb's rookie year. Like, I don't really.
Wow, you were last year's year zero.
Yeah, I don't think with Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus as your two main coaches.
Matt Eberflus. I can't wait for him to get fired. I'm so pumped.
Dude, the disaster that was going on within that building, it was just a terribly run program. Like, it's just so hard for me to judge him on really anything that he did in year one, other than play the games. He played the games. It was good to have those experiences, but outside of that, it wasn't. So I think he's there. He just throw it to the fucking check down. Caleb, there is a running back right in front of you. Don't scramble to the right. Throw it to the guy ahead of you. So if he just learns to skin the pocket a little bit more, he'll be fine. But this was a riveting Portal conversation.
What a great time. I hope people enjoyed it. Like and subscribe on the way out the door. A reminder again, Mike Schaefer, Unemployed with Mike Schaefer. The podcast premieres 1 week from Monday. There will be, though, a bowl game recap before that. Husker Huss asks, what if they actually win this game? Huss, don't really care. That's my response, but let's see what Mike Schaefer would say. If they beat Utah.
What if they did beat them? What if they did beat? Come on.
Cool. Congratulations. It's not going to mean anything for me. It's not going to mean anything. Just like if they get rocked by 30, it won't mean anything. So just go into the game. It's totally
I had a
chill.
dream they won last night. No joke.
Now, here's the most important thing for Matt. 1.99K subscribers on YouTube. You could be number 2,000. You could be. That is the stuff that I care about. We are 9 subscribers away right now from 2,000 on YouTube.
Let me tell you something, brother.
We would love to have you help us reach 2,000 subscribers. So go subscribe there, please, to the I-80 Club YouTube channel. We'll be doing a lot of stuff. Matt and I will be doing some NFL stuff, playoff stuff as we get into postseason. Schaefer and I were talking the other day about a potential 3-man weave. We'll have to do something like that. Get us all ready for
3-man weave with you too.
Some playoff games. We had a great time with Thanksgiving. We'll have a great time as well ahead of the playoffs. So those are the things that we have going on. Again, kind of in a weird spot because of the holidays. Don't know our exact schedule next week. There will be, I can say this for sure, there will be a Nebraska ball hour after the Michigan State game on Friday. And if Nebraska wins that game, we are coming for the biggest show in the history of the I-80 Club once again. We would love to do that. We destroyed it with the Illinois postgame show a couple of weeks ago. We would love to beat the brakes off of that on Friday night. So Nebraska's going to have to do it on their end, and then Jack and Caleb will take care of the postgame stuff on our end as well.
How was my internet? Was it good?
You had no issues. The only criticism that people had was when you were pounding on the table, and then when you move your head, the light behind you,
I know,
we got glaring at us.
We got to fix the lighting. I'm supposed to do a Creighton overtime show or Blue Jay overtime show.
But that's not on video, so you're totally fine in that regard.
Yeah, I know. But I just need to make sure that the internet was working. So.
No, internet is great. You're not going to have any issues with that. Not going to have any. Don't see, now you move back, and now the lighting was a problem.
I'm Jesus.
Nice. All right. He's Matt McMaster. I'm Josh Peterson. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Hope that you had a Merry Christmas. Hope that you continue to have a happy holiday season, a happy New Year in just a few days. And we will talk to you soon. He's Matt. I'm Josh. Thanks for joining us on the I-80 Club. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.